Welcome to May 3rd Friday Salon at home still. So here is my starting song. I was riding in my car, screaming at the night, screaming at the dark, screaming at fright. I wasn't doing nothing, just driving about, screaming at the dark, letting it out. That's all I was doing, just letting it out. Well, along comes a motorcycle, very much to my surprise. I said, "Officer, was I speeding?" I couldn't see his eyes. He said, "No, you weren't speeding," and he felt where his gun was hung. He said, "Lady, you were screaming at the top of your lung. And you were doing it alone, you were doing it alone, you were screaming in your car in a 20-mile zone. You were doing it alone, you were doing it alone, you were screaming." I said, "I'll roll up all my windows, don't want to disturb the peace. I'm just a creature who's looking for a little release." I said, "What's so wrong with screaming? Don't you do it at your games? When a quarterback breaks an elbow, when a boxer beats and maims. But you were doing it alone, you were doing it alone, you were screaming in your car in a 20-mile zone. You were doing it alone, you were doing it alone, you were screaming." I said, "Animals roar when they feel like." I said, "Why can't we do that too? Instead of screaming bonsai baby in a war, in a human zoo." He said, "I've got to take you in now. Follow me right behind, and let's have no more screaming like you're out of your mind." So he climbed aboard his cycle, and his red-eyed headlight beamed, and his motor started spinning, and his siren screamed. He was doing it alone, he was doing it alone, he was screaming on his bike on a 20-mile zone. He was doing it alone, he was doing it alone, he was screaming. I was doing it alone, I was doing it alone, I was screaming in my car in a 20-mile zone. I was doing it alone, I was doing it alone, I was screaming. We were doing it together, we were doing it together, we were screaming in the dark in a 20-mile zone. We were doing it together, we were doing it together, we were doing it together. We were doing it together alone in a 20-mile zone.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Where's that from?
Yes.
That's just one of my favorite singers ever, Dori Previn.
Never heard it.
Oh, you should hear the Hollywood sign. You know the Hollywood sign that stands in the Hollywood Hills. I doubt if the Statue of Liberty ever welcomed so many ills, etc., etc. But anyway, now it is my pleasure to welcome the one and only Alexis Fancher.
Oh, okay. Hi.
So tell us about your new adventure, your new book, and everything we need to hear.
I have the great pleasure of being translated into Italian by Edizione Italia, and I speak French, I don't speak Italian, but they contacted me and Francesca Bell, who is a well-known poet, and the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, Diane Seuss. And they invited all of us. They did a book, an anthology of all of what they thought were our best poems from our different books. And we're all out there in Italy, in Rome. I think Francesca actually flew to Rome for it. I did not. I don't think Diane did either, but very exciting to have and they call it Stiletto Killer. And I don't even have a copy with me, so. Anyway,
that's wonderful. Congratulations.
So, international, very, very fun. I have 2 poems. You want me to read, right? Yes, okay. One poem is for my beloved darling friend Elena, who requested it, and the other is for Marc. Petrie. This first one is from my first book, up there in the corner. I don't think you can see it, the black and white book, How I Lost My Virginity to Michael Cohen. And it's called When I Turned 16, Mother Let Uncle Kenny from Chicago Take Me for a Ride. 1. Uncle Kenny let the top down on the Chrysler, fedora protecting his tender scalp. When I got into the car, he threw his arm over the bucket seat, fingers grazing the back of my skimpy tube top. 2. PCH left on Sunset. He took Dead Man's Curve like a pro, then the slow cruise to downtown like he'd been there before. July baked my bare shoulders. Like Uncle Kenny, I burned easily. 3. Sunset ended at Olivera Street. My uncle chose La Golondrina Cafe. I ordered the cheese enchiladas. He ordered a double margarita, extra salt. Things I learned at lunch: dress well, travel light, marry up. My mom says you're good for nothing, I said. Uncle Kenny slid so close in the booth, his trousers tickled my thigh. I made love to Lana Turner once, he confessed. He ran his tongue around the rim of the margarita glass, licked the salt. His blue eyes stared straight past me. When the mariachis reached our table, Uncle Kenny pulled me from the booth, spun me around the restaurant. Like all big men, he was light on his feet. 4. The overpriced gold and ruby chandelier earrings serenaded us from the store window. 5. How much damage, my mother reasoned, can he do my girl in one afternoon? 6. When Uncle Kenny died soon after in flagrante delicto, no one was surprised. I heard it was his heart, my mother said, but I know he didn't have one. She clipped his obituary out of the paper, pinned it to the refrigerator with a magnet. In my heart, I knew differently. I drove PCH north, left on Sunset, an Uncle Kenny-esque fedora shading my eyes. At Dead Man's Curve, I threw my head back like I'd seen Lana Turner do in the movies. My chandelier earrings tinkled in the wind. That's the first one. This one is a little more erotic and fun. And it's called Power Play. When my lover tells me I cannot say no and I protest, she parts my legs, says, yes, baby, yes. I do what I'm told. No becomes a foreign country. I take it as permission, open season. So when the waiter asks if there'll be anything else, I peruse his menu. I'm stuffed, but I say yes, cram my mouth with macaroons and chocolate. And when the Lyft driver seduces me in the rear view, eyes me like prey, asks, may I kiss you? I say yes. And when the long-legged woman I've long lusted after at the gym wonders aloud if I'm single, asks me to dinner and a movie, I say yes. And when she invites me into her bed, what can I say but yes, yes, yes? And when my fan in Nova Scotia begs me to be his muse, to sanction an illicit code to my breasts, my ankles, my lower lip, a poem he'd never show his wife, I cannot say no to his lust and delusion. Now he wants to climb me, sublime me, shoot me full of stars. Is this what you want too? He writes, and I answer, yes. And when I return to my lover at last, and she sinks into the heady dampness between my thighs, looks up at me and asks, "Have you been faithful?" I say, "Yes." That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis.
My
Thank you.
pleasure.
Really great to see you.
Thank you.
And now let's hear Marc Petrie.
All right, Marc, go.
Thank you. I'm to read one right now. And this is sort of for me, essential one. And so this is for you, Alexis. And this is called I Find an Old Photo. I find an old photo. We were young and beautiful in the snapshot at Tamarack Street. I just emerged from the surf, soaking wet, my hair gleaming red in the sun. You were laying on a towel in a t-shirt and bikini, your face freckled and flushed with love, your eyes two hazel fires. I laid across your belly with my cold, wet body. As you shivered, pressed my face against yours, then smiled for the camera. Could it be 35 years ago? I lay next to you in our bed, your head nuzzled in my back. Your love runs through me like a sudden jolt of pure light. Once again, you warm me against the ever advancing cold.
Nice, really nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Marc. And now let's hear Robbi. Robbi Nestor.
Okay, I've waited 2 years for Gargoyle journal, poetry journal, to publish this poem, and it's coming out finally soon. So this is a preview. In Madagascar. Sifakas, the Nureyeves of the lemur world, leap 9 meters from trunk to trunk, even laden with offspring on their backs or chests. They land like gymnasts, clutching the branches with their long splayed feet, oversized prehensile toe. Even the very young know how to mouth their favorite browse, avoiding its thick spines with nimble tongue and fingers. Somehow, they find the youngest, sweetest leaves and buds. I want to be a sifaka, standing upright, arms spread wide, a drunken surfer, oversized white bird, long, limber legs in lieu of wings. I'll never do a grand jeté or leap from trees, thinking how foolish it might appear. But there's room for everything in this ecology. Someone has to watch the ground, tend to the bees, imagine the invisible. And I have a little poem that I wrote recently that goes with that. It's called Imagining the Invisible. There are things I see and hear, and those I know are there, but seldom see. Ants and spiders turn up in the sink and in my sheets. Flies haunt the fruit bowl. Sometimes a lizard finds its way under the screen door. I hear the crows conversing in the trees. Some things can't be seen or heard at all. We perceive them only in the evidence they leave: breeze bending branches, seeds germinating underneath the ground, the past, dark matter the sound of galaxies beginning to unfold, the death of stars. I'm studying the clouds to guess at weather, noticing minute shifts in the dirt under my feet, anything that might signal wonders I can't immediately perceive. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's hear Ken Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I have one piece, or not one piece. I'm going to do two, actually. The first one is called Masks and Faces. It's kind of apropos for this time period, even though I wrote it almost or more than 2 decades ago, but it's called Masks and Faces. I see faces that eat like masks in heat, faces burn, hot like cups of molten frustration, ice cold disfigurement. Trees, fish for reasons, branches reach upward, I mouth out answers to suffocations, I speak nothing, you lift up, eyes down like left-right madness. I eat trees, they teach me somber lessons. I weep for the death of sweet kisses. I long for burning comfort. I wish for clawing fingernails, tearing away at stupidity with blood running downward like rivers to seas of disenchantment. Faces brandish iron teeth, which lacerate love, burn hot like angry diseases. For dreams you talk like churning embers swirling round about Hades like drunken fireflies. You eat bitter confusion. I take your eyes, I place them on your fingernails. You stab at life so called with burning visions of masks like rabid dogs eat flies like fire churn white star like take away eating trees speak me down up. I work with burning faces, work like hatred in doghouses, heat like liquid rock, burn like ice cold tears wrapped in sheet metal, glossed vanity, faces, masks, emptiness, my friend, emptiness, my friend, emptiness, emptiness, cold, spunky emptiness. That's that one. The next piece I'm going to do is more of an erotic piece. This piece is called Every Day. Every day, I want to sip the sweet nectar of your thoughts, spend long hours savoring your delicious scent, gently caressing your delicate essence. I want to feel you moan my name with every tender thrust between your supple thighs, like fluid heat moistening your deepest desires. I want to plant primal rivers of ecstasy deep within your warm, fertile valleys. Satisfy those strong feminine yearnings with my masculine need, baby. Do you know how much you heal me every day of the week?
That's good.
Every time I see another woman, my intense desire for you only increases. You are the fire that passionately consumes the fuel of my amorous need, your sweet skin tingling with the arousal of your fragrant sweat. As you ride my thrusting pillar with deep, rhythmic heat, body slapping like a blissful primal drum beat. Your wet orchid hungrily devouring the length of me with moaning, screaming ecstasy. Every day, I want to passionately impregnate you with my sweetest joys, fill you to overflowing with the virile seed of my faithful love. and rejoice in your tender, gentle, wild voice as you beg me, beg me, beg me for more. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Okay, now, Eva, do you have something?
I do. I have the most recent poem of my husband, Mike West. It's called Night Charts. And there's an epigram by Akira Kurosawa. He who is not afraid of the dark has no imagination. I want the night's love. I want to carry pieces of the night with me, drink it from rows of bottles from my cellar, and watch embers from my soul dance upward, one with the darkness. I want to wear the hard armor of the night, but no one commands the night rules all, and then abandons all to the graduation of slow dawn. The music says the night belongs to lovers. The ancient clockwork journey of the moon is the kidnapper of beloved darkness. Night hopes become the blind offspring of daydreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. And now let's hear Richard Modiano.
Oh, well, thank you, Linda and Elena, for having me here tonight. Good to see all of you. My mother was a showgirl. She danced topless at the Flamingo in Vegas before I was born, where my father saw her. And she always proudly said Ben Siegel himself hired her, a nice Jewish girl who he treated with respect. Such a handsome man and a gentleman, too. But that shiksa ruined him. Don't fall for a gold digger, she told me, as though I had any gold, as if we were rich. Don't worry about me, Ma, even though all of my girlfriends were shiksas, as it happened. And 2 were women of color. But she didn't mind as long as they were clean and weren't gold diggers. Just be happy, she told me, the hardest commandment of all.
That's beautiful.
And another family poem. He spent most of the war stateside as a link instructor, his rank tech sergeant stationed at bases in the Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, a state he hated because during the previous decade, he'd been hitchhiking cross-country looking for work, and he was arrested in Galveston for vagrancy, with 3 strikes already against him, a New Yorker, a Jew, and he spoke Spanish. He had a lifelong hatred of Southern law enforcement. So when he was promoted to 2nd LT and reassigned to Greenham Common, USAFF base in England, he was glad to go, a free train ride to New York City, some time with the family before boarding the troop carrier. The North Atlantic mostly cleared of U-boats by then, September 1944, England still on rations. But he got big meals of eggs, kippers, bread, and real butter, steak and potatoes, real coffee, and with real cream at the base. He told me he liked the barman at the pub down the road from the base. The guy always treated him to an extra round. So he bought a carton of eggs, 5 pounds of coffee, and a pint of cream that he gave to the barkeep before he left on his first mission. He was a navigator, and the barman stopped calling him Yank and started calling him the Navigator. He never told me about those missions, and all he told me about his service during the war was about the dusty boredom of the Southwest, the tiny little cattle towns near places where he was stationed, and the friends he made among the Mexicans. New York Jew meant nothing to them. 24 missions in the war in Europe was over. He was busted back to tech sergeant for running a floating crap game. He never told me a combat story except for the one about the gunner who was hit. My father was bent over the finder when he felt something warm and wet splashed against him. He knew what it was. He wasn't wearing his flight jacket. The blood soaked his shirt, and afterward it stank. It stank in there. That was his takeaway from the war: blood and stench. Stench and blood. And for this round, let me see. I have one more. After discovering the Beat Generation, Bob Dylan, free jazz, and revolutionary politics at age 16, there was no turning back. But I didn't land in New York City's Lower East Side until I was in my 20s. Then home to La Mama, the New Eurekan Poets Cafe, the Grassroots Tavern, the Socialist Workers' Party headquarters, 339 Lafayette Street, where the Congress of Racial Equality, the War Resisters League, the Socialist Party, and the Free Association were housed under one roof. And the New York City General Membership Branch of the IWW at 119 East 10th Street, a couple of doors from St. Mark's and the Bowery and the Poetry Project. Though told that the LES was in an advanced state of disintegration, it was so much livelier than anything I had known before that I found it hard to imagine how it could have been better, even though the neighborhood was hit hard by crime. I had the unparalleled experience of community life. Life on the Lower East Side was the closest thing to marvelous anarchy it has ever been my pleasure to enjoy. Despite battles with landlords, harassment by cops and muggers, the artists who lived there and their allies, old-time Bowery bums, prostitutes, drug addicts, winos, LGBTQ folks, and other outcasts maintained a vital community based on mutual aid in which being different was an asset rather than a liability in this community. This community of many races and ethnicities, the practice of solidarity and equality was second nature. Almost everyone was poor, but no one went hungry, and newcomers had no trouble finding a place to stay in the Lower East Side of the 1970s. What mattered most was poetry, freedom, creativity, and having a good time. To paraphrase an old aristocrat, those who did not live before gentrification will never know how sweet life was.
Amen.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. And you'll come back, right? Okay. Christina.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
How nice to see you.
nice to see you. Thank you. I have two pieces, prosy poems, inspired by Linda, because a certain artist that connects us, and I met her because she read a poem about them and used the line "the Puck Building," and that connected us in this beautiful way. Okay, so this first one is called "Chased You Wait." There is a murder house in my mind, built by stories, 2x4 scaffolding and pale amber light between beams. I know this isn't what the sub-basement of the Puck Building looks like, where you were raped and murdered. This comes from what I know of the inside of an unfinished wall, the rough shed wall of my best friend's clubhouse, built by her own engineer father. The exposed wall of a deep scene I can't face, lit by unseen candles. You walk down a hallway, an echoing space in mid-renovation, to meet your husband who isn't there, who has deliberately ditched you because you were in a petty fight. A morsel excised from Dad's book, from your diary, something about borrowing the car. You were in the right, yet you were the one to reach out to reconcile. Your husband leaves you to wander the condemned floors of this building alone, to be met by two men in an elevator who force you into the lower levels. The walls are wet and dark and sweat cold black oil. The ceiling is so high, the edge is always outside my vision. The sub-basements are a maze. You are my Aunt Teresa. You are married. You are dead. These two new facts next to each other, separated by 6 months, collapsed by kid time, fused tighter over the years. Sometime after this, my parents tell me about rape. I don't remember the sex talk, but I remember the rape talk when I am 10. Yeah. Thank you for listening. I guess I'll just do the second one now. Oops, it's eluding me. Where did you go? Okay, so that was direct address to my aunt. This one is called Direct Address to a Murderer. It came to me in the tub. I see you in your swirling rainbow bubble scrim, particles of dusty skin caught in the viscous light, submerged up to your chin, your mouth. You are still. You are fucked. You must know this. You begin your process of denial, folding the facts away into a dim no. You jump into a tub of oily bathwater just after you murder. You've stolen my aunt's wedding ring. Are you sure? Your roommate asks. I use bath oils. Are you sure? How odd, she thinks, and this becomes testimony. The oily water in the tub, you're wanting to be clean. She is strangled with her scarf. Memories, third hand, filtered through transcripts, odes to beauty and horror and sticky gray justice. Stories handed down in silence, in scary love, in writing. What other way could there have been? It must be a direct address to you, the murderer. Words for a figment, a dumb force, a quicksand swamp pocket of you in my chest. You are best as an empty space. I don't want to fill you in. You write yourself into a family in the silence. I will unwrite you. Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. Christina Cha, everybody. So
Thank you.
it's really great to meet you too.
It's nice to meet you
in person.
all. Yes, that was lovely.
Thank you. So James Evert Jones, are you available?
Yes, I am, actually. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, beautiful. Oh,
Can we see you too?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully you guys see a 30-something Black man, African-American, but since the camera adds 10 pounds, I most likely look like a middle-aged Black American. This one is entitled Speaking of Now. Speaking of now, I find it ironic that this word now is its own antonym, like cleave, which means both to attach and to separate. Now can define urgency and imply anxiety, but also it can define surety and instill comfort. It can be a period, a point on the page and its attendant finality, or it can be an ellipsis, 3 points on a page, bringing the future into flux. Now is immutable and yet fluid. There's this woman I love. I can close my eyes and see her now. And yet this apparent singularity begets this multitude of innumerable nows, My heart synchronizes with Tito Puente's timbales. My blood flows like Hendrix's guitar. I breathe Miles and Gillespie and Lennon and McCartney, the Temps and the Supremes and Stevie Nicks and Stevie Wonder, and it's wonderful. A fullness that scours this point on a page, inferring a terminus. Inundated and freshened by an abundant now, a copious now, jetting like an unplugged hydrant. This cataclysmic purging now showers half-clothed children on ghetto summer streets. Their screams and laughter scribing jingling notes on musical scores, rinsing clean the dirt beneath the neighborhood's nails. The social mugginess, the omnidirectional rage of its poor and its young. A cathartic now unfurls a dance floor of sweet streets and sound stages. A now of monochromatic Gershwin becomes a now of Rogers and Hammerstein and Technicolor, of Lin-Manuel Miranda and on IMAX screens and surround sound. Each dance more vibrant than the preceding now, each breath more precious than the previous now. I can close my eyes and see it, this point on a page. Inferring a terminus, becomes a dilating pupil in a soft brown spiral. This point on a page becomes an ellipsis of lips, a future in flux, a singular kiss for this woman I love. A culminating symphony of all the preceding nows and a germinating seed for all of the nows to follow. And speaking of now, this charming oxymoron, this demand and assurance, this question and answer, this photographic now developed and displayed in a hippocampus gallery, this point on a page becomes a hook on the wall, a contemporaneous parades of the nanoseconds of being. The now of my hand, tiny and finite, finally reaching the light switch. The now of my minuscule lifetime, finally waking to Christmas morning, finally graduating 6th grade, this photographic now, kissing my first girlfriend, buying my first car, crashing into a car without insurance. Yes, even pictures of mistakes. And the now of my adult hand, tiny and finite, reaching for answers like a light switch in the dark. Groping for the nows resting inches beyond touching. And speaking of now, this charming oxymoron, this demand and assurance, this question and answer, this molecule and horizon, an itching riddle of how to incorporate a now. This point on a page inferring an assessment, 3 points on a page implying a pathway, a future in flux, reckoning the pointillism of bathing my newborn and watching her walk. With the Jackson Pollock splashes of losing her trust and watching her walk without me. I can close my eyes and see her now, this beautiful child, tiny and finite, and the astounding now of the nights I spent just watching her breathe. The inquisitive now watching her face deciphering a mouthful of cheesecake. A confounding now on the days she asked questions I was unprepared to answer. This vexing oxymoron, this demand and assurance, this molecule and horizon, these nanoseconds of being, a multitude of innumerable nows, and the one now that fears that my canvas is full and that I'd have no room for this child I adore or this woman I love. And now that I speak of now, I am reminded that now is its own antonym, that every singular moment can be now, and that every conceivable moment can be now. Anxious and sure, urgent and comfortable, in my adult hands, tiny and finite, halting and adroit, young and wizened, unhooks the canvas, cleaves it from the wall, and flips it as one would a light switch. And the canvas, like now, is at once a masterpiece and a clean slate, as it remains its own antonym. And I realize this clean slate is my future, and it's now.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena.
And RJ, I get a message and the answer is yes, but I have difficulties watching and typing. So yes, yes. Okay, I think we're going to move on to our main feature now. The one and only Linda Ravenswood. And it was just such a pleasure to have her and Stan at the Rap Saloon. And the way they played the music and the way they braided poems was just phenomenal. So please purchase the book and the one and only Linda Ravenswood.
Thanks, Elena. Let me know, maybe give me a thumbs up if the audio is any better. Oh, sweet. Okay, good. I can hear you better too. So here's this crazy book. It's about two and a half years in crafting. It's just out now from Pedestrian Press out of San Francisco. As many of you guys know, I'm sort of San Francisco, LA based. So I'm constantly, especially before pandemic, I was in San Francisco every month doing shows, and most of my friends are in San Francisco, not these wonderful LA people notwithstanding, but my best friends, my lifelong friends, for some reason, they all crawled up to San Francisco, maybe to get a little bit of that Lower East Side feeling that Richard was talking about so beautifully, that for some reason still remains in San Francisco, that dream of anarchy and poetry and community all coming together, and that those are the important things in life. So I'm very drawn to San Francisco. So I'm going to just read two poems in line with what Christina was talking about. I'm going to read a poem from a new collection that's coming out in August. It's called Rock Waves, Slow Drags. And this is about a memory that was extremely vibrant to me when I was growing up, and maybe some LA people will remember it too. It's called Desert Girl, Arms Hanging Alive. When I was a child and the Herald Examiner legged open on kitchen beams between lamps and books and cream of wheat, glass blown brown beer bottles and smudged elbows of flea market men and faint smell of Listerine and Doan's pills with rice pudding cooling on the counter of vanilla lemon 1970s Los Angeles. My grandmother read aloud the story of the desert girl, her arms chopped and smeared with sand, but walking out of the desert. Her blood drowned the tarmac as she fled the scene of the crime, rolled from the culverts and clung to the side of the earth on the highway, alive like those gold sleepers from the Twilight Zone. It was out somewhere past San Bernardino, past civilization, and back to railroads and stagecoaches and people come from the east. Our progenitors, some faces from the photo albums, stranger etched names on the silver service, Willis, McGee, portraits made in St. Joseph, Missouri on their way west. What could be worth so much to sleep for 1,000 years? The hub hooped black 1957 tub covered in a canvas tarp, the glass cage chambers slumbering through decades, the skull and bone leavings of a too early crack. This desert, hope and oblivion, eternally lives in one landscape. Did Desert Girl wake in the blue numbness, or did she never sleep? Consciousness beside her like faith or stars, going by gas caps and jackrabbits along the scrub and stem of the horizon. The first car she saw was filled with girls and boys. Farther, and then beside her, but horrified, her river of blood, her sanguine dress and remnants of arms raised above her, see me, call on me, mother. Later, she said she held her arms high like that to keep her muscles from slipping out. But the boys and girls were too scared to stop, so Desert Girl walked for hours. Desert Girl, you're walking for hours. I'm sorry, she just slipped away from me. Here she comes back. But the boys and girls were too scared to stop, so Desert Girl walked for hours till an old couple stopped and wrapped her in beach towels and took her to the hospital, where they dug the grotto of her thighs to harvest sinew and bring those arms half home and bring her all the way out of the desert. And Linda, she lived to tell the tale. My grandmother folded the paper, turned grandfather's morning sausage, and plated last night's T-bone in her lemon true kitchen. The T-bone, she said. This is the best part, the bone. I saved it just for you. And I sat with my grandparents and cried under the 7 o'clock bells from the church in Los Feliz. Thank you. Sorry for losing my place, but that's just perfect. So the second poem that I'll read is from the Stand Poems. Thank you again so much to Elena for inviting me here. And again, this is just in line with Christina. It's called the Stand Poems, 686 Days Gone. But this is called The House Where the Woman Gets Everything She Wants. This is the house where the woman gets everything she wants. She never has to brawl. Nobody says she's missing out on a real man's hands, where no growth but through pain is debunked. The house where no one throws a woman's art out the window, where no one locks bedroom doors or bathroom doors. You come and go free. This is the house where no one challenges your rights at night to make it seem you're less than because you want to live without drama. This is the house where it's understood the difference between writing drama and living drama. The house that accepts peonies, wants figs to flourish. The house where a woman never has to throw up, never has to put her face in the toilet. The house where a woman stays muddy all day if she wants. The house where any woman can be juniper, can be her own houseplant, can imagine the bells and arches of a map, can become a map. The house where any woman covers herself and is her own vase, her neck and veins and stems, the taut buds of her hair. This is the house, dreaming the house, where sunlight covers any living woman and she is safe. Thanks you guys so much.
Thank you, Linda. You'll come back, right?
Oh yes, I would love to.
Of course. Yes, thank you. Ambika, are you going to read?
I could, but I know that I can't wait late, as you know me, but so I don't want to take anyone's time.
Well, will you prepare and then I'll get somebody and then you can be after that?
No, I mean, I have a poem, but I don't, you
Okay.
know, I don't.
Okay. Please welcome Ambika Talwar.
Well,
what is that photo of?
Where? Oh, that's me with the horse who put her head on my lap after we worked together.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been some time. She's gone on right now.
Because it looks bloodied.
No, she's not bloodied at all.
Maybe it's the sunset.
The sun was, yeah, sharp. Yeah, no, she worked on me, and then she went and sat down, and I went and sat by her and I placed my head on her neck, and I felt her stir, and I got up. As I got up, she turned and put her head on my lap. It was the most beautiful experience. And I knew that she would do it that day when I drove to see her. She's moved on.
Mm.
So I haven't been coming for a long time, as you know, Elena. Thank you for continuing to invite me. It's just been very busy with all kinds of things. So, so I'll read this one poem. I did have a couple erotic poems, but I decided I would read this instead. And it's called In the Wilderness. I am thinking the pall of gray weaves a heavy blanket. I am thinking to pierce it with arrows and bring in sunshine. I am thinking I see now beams of rainbows dancing on us all. How beautiful is the world, such splendid variations. I'm thinking of my sore, swollen jaw, cannot open my mouth. I'm thinking I must be Mum's kitten to be fed tiny bites of chicken. I am thinking I must be smiling away because it's all that matters. I'm thinking of the tiny bluebird on a rock in Kashmir many years ago. I am thinking of the wayfarers, ones that do not lose their way. I am thinking of windows where flowers grow. I am thinking of lovers who weave silence with bliss eyes. I am thinking of how we enter dangerous paths on moonless nights. I am thinking that is when the divine can grab us. I am thinking of little Lara ill for weeks and her courage to be. I am thinking we should give up language's twisting travails. I am thinking we should give up assumptions for truth in our arms. I am thinking words are projections as love resides waiting for voice. I am thinking when to make my next lamb stew with love spices. I am thinking of my grandma and her silent hint of a smile. I'm thinking of my Mimi with her forever devotion to feeding us. I'm thinking of my father's hurt. I did not know what to do. I'm thinking of blueberries I gathered in Maine so long ago. I'm thinking of Portugal. I'm thinking of Rome. I'm thinking of swimming in great big lake, naked in wilderness. I am thinking of dancing to release stories so we can be free. I'm thinking of how passionate, tender, and sensitive we are. I'm thinking we should never misunderstand one another. I'm thinking this is how we bring peace into our hearts. I'm thinking how beautiful the world is and you are. I'm thinking there is nothing more precious than this. I'm thinking clouds have parted and sun is glowing.
Thank you, Ambika. Great to see you, really.
Good to see you.
Thank you. So now let's welcome Paul Corman-Roberts.
Sorry, I had to find myself. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I was worried. I don't know. I've been having tech difficulties tonight. All right, I'm gonna do, what am I gonna do? Just some quick new ones. First of all, Matt Sedillo, top of the stack, buddy, top of the stack. Having assembled a sonnet. The assembly line will not be audited today, no, not even inventoried. This Wednesday, for Wednesday is the day we lull about the workstations, look cross-eyed at managers and prospective new journey folk. Don't even think about asking us to fulfill some arbitrary quota. Where is my acknowledgement line? Or why isn't a contributor copy available? Today, the assembly line suggests you find another axe to grind your ego and not worry so much about the I ams, which you can have back tomorrow. And then this next poem is called Bohemian Like Me. Long kicking rivulets of saliva, saturated numb with clove spice, run between the cracked valleys, snaking through the arid terrain of my lips. Took up smoking dejarums after kissing me silly, after tongues in ears, and all this junky ass thinks about is getting back to that taste. I tell you like I tell anyone. I'll never ask you to drink my Kool-Aid. I want to be upfront about that shit, so I can keep on wondering if that isn't the deal breaker when you take that so sweet photo of your so sweet pup on out to the Black Rock Arts Fest to ask if anyone has seen her since she bolted from your communal love tent, even though I'm back here at the apartment taking care of her while you're out of festin. I pull another DJ, light it, and draw. And then I'll close my first bit with this piece called A Hybrid Vehicle for Edith. Edith, often the biblical name given to Lot's wife. A hybrid vehicle for Edith. Everybody says the man in the moon always looks like he's singing. Singing a love song, no doubt, with long dialectical debates raging through the millennia about whether this song is a sad love song or a joyous love song. No one ever seems to think the man in the moon may not even be a man, perhaps not even human, and not singing, but shocked and terrified and filled with foreboding as they bear witness to the opening of a Pandora's jar, an experiment gone so very wrong. Shh, it's a secret. What do we say about this alternate history, other than it shall pick through our bones and trinkets and currencies the way we pick through our ancestors' graves and send them off to be displayed and re-entombed in a place that is anywhere but home? You know, tradition credits Moses with writing Genesis, so I call bullshit on his version of Sodom. She never looked back. It was a sideways Dharma that once squatted this ashtray. In timeless places, the angels always have alibis locked in ahead of the shit show, like any well-organized mob. There is no wrong time for grief. A bruja's tangle twisting in the night breeze. Wild, the angels didn't like that she wouldn't fuck them. They called her names. They called out her name, but she wouldn't look back. The angels always lie, like any organized mob. A murder in the trees, a murder in the air, a murder in the moonlight. Dare you suggest you crows have not reaped in just this way? Perhaps best not to sow stones. Ekphrastic epigraphs on or about the moon are the wave of a future always coming back to us. There is never not a time the future isn't coming for us. Dressed in clothing, driving vehicles we thought we had disposed of out on that road all those years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. And now let's welcome Peter Kline.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me here. So nice to see you all. I'm going to read two poems from my book, Deviants. This first one is called Long Division. I've been taught to expect, divide. Keep your hands on your own side. Birth cut me from my mother, but it started earlier. Before I even had a heart, they put me in a place apart without a light, without a light. No wonder my heart's not right. I've got a feel for separateness. We both decided it was best, considering how quietly you became you, I became me, until we didn't know each other, to civilly unswear together what we'd sworn and meant for good. Life parted us before death could. The universal law is split. I tried to make the most of it, gave all my work away for free, and found I'd sold my dignity severed all relationships, and wound up straddling the hips of loneliness, the gentle John who spends the night with everyone. And the second poem is called Taboo. I did a thing I wasn't meant to do. No one made me. It was my decision. Just something everybody knew was true. Seemed iffy. I wanted further information. In a part of town I'd never been before, an old man dressed me down with sideways eyes. I found the camfered stairwell, second floor. If I went up innocent, I came down wise. What am I now? I sleep in the same bed, pursue my ordinary daydream day, greet my neighbors as one who has the right. My dreams are the dreams of any righteous head, perhaps. But picturing what I can't say, you put it in my mouth. That's impolite. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. And now let's welcome Sedillo.
All right, cool. I want to thank Linda for inviting me and Elena for hosting. Let's do a couple quick ones here. All right, so this is new. This is from a project I'm working on. It's going to be a big epic. It's only just a short beginning of it, but it's going to be a long epic poem called Elon Musk Must Be Stopped. So here's the beginning of it. When presented gifts, they severed limbs, shipped children, cracked the heads of infants against a stone that demanded more by sea, by sword, by disease, by design, genocide. First charge ashore, sailor. This is your first time around, captain. It's all you have to offer, the blood, the blade, this new crusade, this human plague, this beast that walks upon two legs, opening chapter, its original sin, also long after, first contact. The name of discovery and doctrine, the cat's hands, raise flags towards the heavens, fill the sky with ash, blurred visions, traditions, means of knowing the learned ways of the land, legends of the soil, the study of stars, books of the dead, the name of divine right, they flatten time. They called this history. These flames holy, these deeds sacred, this word inspired names, edicts, kings, and holy war. They set fire to the corn, torch monument for coin, destroyed aqueducts and dams, and called this work the Lord's. They raped, they killed, they pillaged, they enslaved, rerouted trade, built the wealth of modern Europe off the theft of two continents, and to cover the distance between what they had said and what they had done, they turned to everything. Everyone cried out, Indio, Mestizo, Santo Domingo, New Spain, the Hudson Bay, merciless Indians, King Philip, Washington, New England, New York, by sea, by sword, by disease, by design, genocide, by any name. Mules wind down the road. Mules wind down the road, down the mountain eats men. Mules wind down the road, down the mountain that eats men, carrying silver to the mill that fuels the armada. In Rich Potosi. Rich Potosi, the treasury of the world, the envy of kings, the king of mountains, knives and teeth to reach Rich Potosi, miles from shore they leap, from merchant ships, miles from shore, knives and teeth, Rich Potosi, where mercury and soot compete for sky, where the air is thin and the wind is ice, mills and mints, mercenaries and mines, church and brothel at the foot of a rich god. Early demise and cheap thrill, where the life of a poor Indian is cheapest still. Welcome to Rich Potosi, the king of mountains, treasury of the world, envy of kings, front line of conquest, of new doctrine, of new ways in life and death, where mountains eat men, where eyes bleed in a sacrament of blood and powder and leaf, where chartered thieves meet and murder over precious metals and sacred dust. All hail Rich Potosi, the king of mountains, the envy of kings, where cold wind still blows. Elon tweets, we will coup whoever we want. We will coup whoever we want. Knives and teeth, we will coup whoever. We will coup whoever. Knives and teeth, we will coup whoever. We will coup whoever. Elon tweets, knives and teeth. 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 Knives and teeth. Knives and teeth. Knives and teeth. The mountain eats men. And then this one is about the Winchester house. I don't know if people are familiar with that. It's in San Jose, and it's based kind of on Yeats' Sailing to Byzantium. And so, you know, in Sailing to Byzantium, Yeats is writing about this. You know, he's basically, you know, these young guys are kind of like talking shit, and he's feeling all bad, and so he kind of like writes about how, you know, he may be an old man, but his writing's immortal, and just like Byzantium, his writing will live forever, and blah blah blah. And so I decided to write something about, you know, things that should die, and I think the Winchester house should. It's horrible, and it's a horrible. I mean, it's cheesy and it's bad, but it's also a horrible monument to a horrible thing, and you know, get rid of it, bulldoze it. Anyways, so this is called Lady Winchester. So this is about the Winchester house, and it's about America. That is no country for guilty conscience, laughing, learning in summer near lakes named in remembrance of murder. The young in their way stand as living monuments to generations of forgetting. An aged truth unrenewed is a thing of genocide. The naming of avenue, the making of highway, the forging of boulevard, the foundations of national celebrations, psyches, bodies of literature, schools of cinema standing in pools of blood, O pioneer. There's no place for honest reflection. I have therefore traveled north, towards doors and staircases that lead nowhere, filled with rooms that reach for the dead, passageways to escape their revenge. Once I read the story of Lady Winchester, building her mansion till the day she died. In her time, a marvel destination for escape artists. Today, sold as mystery to travelers and tourists, as curiosity as to what is past and passing, and they too, in their way, stand as living monuments. In a home built by rifles, the great American tradition known to run from ghosts. And then there's one more. This is from Sitting on the Second Floor, which Mowing Leaves of Grass, kind of like an ethnic studies book, and it's been taught, I think, at like 15 different schools in ethnic studies departments, including Berkeley and Madison. This one's more like a sociological kind of text, you know, and I say that, but it's not just me saying that. I mean, the foreword's by a sociologist, and the first review was by a sociologist who teaches over at Cambridge. So, you know, the proof is in the pudding. So anyways, here's a poem called The Rich. It's a satire. I am not rich. I need you to buy my book, in fact. But it is about the rich. I got protested while doing this poem one time. Someone's like, you know, we're gonna rise up against you. It's like, yeah, buddy, I'm a billionaire, and I came to this open mic in Pico Rivera to brag in all 6 of your poor faces. That's what's really going on. And anyways, this poem's called The Rich. It's about being a billionaire. Here we go. The rich. Well, they're not like you and me. They see an opportunity, they grab it. Reach for the stars, and they put them in their pocket. Company stays in the red, but they're backed by the government. It's Northrop with diamonds aligned to pure profit. Research and development, the rich, they didn't breed. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams, thoroughbred stallions, quarter-million mansions, CD, Port Horizon, blue diamonds, golden parachutes, silicon messiahs, feasting on endangered species, served on silver platters, winter palaces, carved from the tips of icebergs, six-figure charters, vulture capital, million-dollar cufflinks, plucking life like an apple, insured by suicide nets, lifestyles of the criminally negligent, but you haven't lived. So you've launched a car into space for no reason. That's what I call freedom. The rich, well, here's how it is. Dollars and cents, trademark and rent, facts and figures, lines and a ledger, derivatives and debt, building the future, increased productivity, union busting backs, the 100-hour work week, between the fat, Bruce monopolies with no money, shortage and best. That, my friend, so the rich stay rich with the rest, make poor decisions in its pure ecstasy, living in the lap of luxury, pushing pharmaceuticals to the market will bear your body to its altar at a life or death bargain. The gospel of wealth, because it is what it is, and that's all it's ever been. The less we spend, the more we keep. You see, the rich, well, they're just like you and me. 2 hands, 2 feet, The sky, the sea, and the heart that beats, and the time to make the most of it, to find no sympathy. Reaching into these deep pockets, all we were asked was for our fair share, and God damn it, that's all of it's around the streets. Scream for peace and justice. We sleep in satin sheets, drink free and guiltless, over oceans and tariffs, liquidating pensions, and off to bid on porcelain and portraits at billion-dollar auctions. You know you need us. You know we're selling your secrets. You know Cincinnati nakeds, watching the puppets on television, debate freedom, free speech, fascism, democracy, while reaching the earth and punch the ozone and fuel the economy with space stations. Yes, space stations, hydrating the red planet. We're gonna survive this lava pit. So you got pots and pans, we got deeds and plans, chopping down rainforests, colonizing the moon. We're the rich. We're the you will privatize the water supply, then copyright the tears falling from your eyes. Burn it all down. What the hell are you talking about? The ice caps already melting. You want to start some eat the rich? We're already killing your kids. One carbon film, gas house, one oil rig, one naval ship, one free trade agreement at a time. We'll get away with it too. Nothing we say or do is ever held against us. Haven't you been paying attention? We're rich. Thanks. See you on the second floor. Matt Sedillo, check it out.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. It's been a while. Thank you. Okay, moving on. RJ, are you there?
Yes, Elena. Thank you, Elena.
All the way from the East Coast.
All the way from the East Coast, yep. Sounding with my allergies like someone poured jello into an oboe, so forgive me. I hope this essay is not too long. I've not read prose to Elena or in this group for a long, ever. And I hope I won't bore you with its length. And I also have to comment that Vanessa Ingold, you have one of the greatest names in the universe. Okay, it is called Coffee with Kerouac. Too many years ago in Harvard Square, a small oasis in congested Cambridge, Massachusetts, I sat in an outdoor cafe drinking coffee with Jack Kerouac. Over our cups, Jack offered to me his succinct and discerning perspective on what being a writer of your own experiences truly means to your craft. A tortured man, a tormented writer, whose grist for the writer's wheel elevated and enlightened an entire generation and the poetry form itself, as only Jack Kerouac could. I was just starting on my own writing journey and had held the naive belief that I would myself become a great writer someday. Now sitting with Jack, I felt like his character, Dean Moriarty, an enthusiastic thought occurred to me that if I had a rarefied opportunity to drink from his deep well of wisdom and knowledge on the craft of writing. So during a brief moment of silence between us, as we both idly watched the hurried and hairy crowd of tourists and Cambridge denizens meander around us under a setting summer sun, I boldly decided to ask Jack. Averting my attention from the crowd back to our table for two, I said, Jack, you're one of our greatest living writers, and I hope that one day I could become a great writer too. Where and how did you come up with that incredible material for On the Road and for all the poems you've written over the years? Sitting flatly in his chair while I spoke, Jack stared blankly down at his coffee cup. A sudden deep sense of melancholy seemed to overtake him that caught me by surprise. He now appeared so much older than his actual age of 45. It felt to me as if he had prematurely aged by the world that he had indelibly chronicled for his generation. I think Jack sensed how his sadness had now become mine. He averted his sunken and wearied eyes, which still held that dark, piercing stare, from the cup cradle of his well-bored hands, and he looked up to my face, and leaning his thin, sagging shoulders forward, he began to speak. His gravel voice sounded as callous as his hands, but there was an intense conviction in the words he next spoke that projected a vitality and strength that belied his frail appearance. Jack said, Jeff, there's no need to worry about or even to ask where the hell mine, or for that matter, your writing comes from. We consider until we're both bones talking shit over that subject, it's irrelevant to the real point. He pulled in a deep, raspy breath and continued. Here's the thing. All the words, imagery, or whatever you'll ever need are here all around you right now. He illustrated this point by gesturing towards the street and all the people walking by. Everything you have or will ever experience is where your writing will come from. Take what you need from that and stop worrying about where anyone else got their words. Think only about what you want to write and then just fucking do it, man. A wry smile curved his tense lips as that intense stare in his eyes relaxed. He reached over and gently patted my much younger shoulder with one of those roughened hands. And in a commiserative tone, he said, Jeff, you worry too damn much about how you're going to become a great writer. Be concerned with only what you're writing now. When you sit down to write, always ask yourself this one question. Am I writing about what I've experienced, or am I just acting like that old tired mockingbird singing someone else's tune? Which kind of writer are you going to be, kiddo? Grinning wildly now, Jack said, people will come along, read your stuff, and then make up their own minds whether they care about it or not. Just make sure you tell them what this big old world do, the way you saw it, and you're just fine. Jack cheerfully raised his nearly empty cup in a celebratory toast as he sardonically concluded, at the hell with them, oh, my young friend, if they don't dig your groove. Did I ever become the great writer that I thought I had to be? I will leave that for others to judge. I stopped caring about it right after my conversation with Kerouac a long, long time ago in the Cambridge Cafe. I just write what I see and hear and tell the truth. My heartfelt gratitude and thanks are with you today, Jack, on whatever celestial road you're now traveling. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. So, Jimmy, are you going to read something? I can't hear you. You have no sound, even though you're not muted. Okay, until we figure that out, I'm going to move on, Jimmy. Anybody else that hasn't had a chance? Dorsey, Vanessa, Brittany? Okay.
Yes.
Are you reading?
Oh, I actually came out of the hospital tonight.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
But I wanted to hear these beautiful words from these amazing poets. And so it has really helped to calm me down. I would like to do this another time if you don't mind, but thank you so much for asking.
Please do. Please come back.
Thank you.
Every third Friday. Okay. So, well, on that note, I will dedicate this poem to you and to all the ladies in the house. I haven't done this in a while. You are the daughter of the king. You are the daughter of the king, my friend and teacher once told me. Do not let anyone crush your spirit. Walk tall, wear your beautiful smile and go on. I wish I had your courage. You are the daughter of the king. My father taught me that. For so long I had forgotten who I was, giving into everyone's needs and wants, everyone's schedules. I had forgotten until one day I threw guilt into the receding tide, claimed some time and gazed at the glistening ocean. Everything came back. Warm breeze waiting there. The softest carpet laid at my feet. Glorious music all around. An unsurpassed royal welcome. You are the daughters of the king. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Jimmy, did you find something? I still can't hear you. There's no sound. You don't have a mic? Is it, you've got something in your ears? Can you hear me? Can everybody hear? Can anybody hear him? No. Yes? No. You have no sound.
No can hear.
Okay. Can you, well, I'm going to move on and try and figure out your sound because we can't hear you. There's no microphone. Where's your microphone? You don't have a microphone. It's weird. It's very strange. I feel bad. I mean, your microphone doesn't even show. I mean, it shows that it's on, but it's okay. I'm going to mute. Can you unmute your microphone now? Okay. No? Can you unmute?
You don't unmute.
There you go. There you go. Now it
You got. Oh, you got me?
Yes.
Well, I could read from a dead poet from 1969, his book of poems, which is the only thing I really know about poetry. I've done it a few times before.
Okay.
Proposals for a new society. Let me get it.
But
justice means this is the way things are, from quote James Scully, who was a wonderful poet, and he's dead too. Proposal or two, then from an old legislator. If everyone on this revolving grave was trained to sing, my battery's going dead. Am I gone?
Well, your image is gone.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't have it together, evidently.
Well, figure it out and come back if you want.
I want to hear you, what you're doing. So I will come back and I will charge it up as
Okay.
Anyway, yes,
All
I
right.
can do both probably.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Let me detain you. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Okay. Paul, do you have something else?
This has been one of those nights.
Yeah, sure. Oh. All right. I put out a book last year with Nomadic Press called Bone Moon Palace, and I'll link it up in a moment, but I'll read a couple of pieces from the book.
Are you waiting for me?
Did you still want, she called on me, but do you still want to read, Jimmy? You there, buddy? What's the call? You can't hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, Jimmy's still there.
Jimmy, we can hear you. Can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us. Troubles with the system.
Yeah, Jimmy, try logging out and logging back in.
I feel his frustration. We're here.
Someone talking?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Paul, can you talk?
Yeah, I'm talking. See? I don't think you can hear me.
I'm unmuting for that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Loud and clear, Vanessa.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Jimmy?
It's not my time.
Can you hear me, Jimmy? I don't know. Elena, you're on mute. What's the call, Elena? I can't hear you. You're on mute, Elena.
Yeah, Elena, your mic is muted.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, let's go.
Okay. Roll call. Half of us who show up for roll call do so hoping we are taking those next steps to becoming someone else. The other half of us show up believing we are someone else. The reason this world is going to hell in a punk bar toilet is because everyone knows that once we leave the party, that's it, man. It's over, and there ain't no going back. Nothing pushes the buttons of Homo neurotic sapien like the now, the contagious cardiac event when the blue shield already spreads it around like so much clap all over the civic infrastructure. And you know things are rough when calling in the feds is looking like the last best gasp for the working class, but you only ever wanted to bring them in for the blame anyway. because no other stinking half-decayed jellyfish the size of Alaska has ever so cleansed you of your own personal guilt. We promised each other we'd kick the short-term junk bond monkey scene for real this time. But of course, the first step towards kicking is wanting to kick. And you never want to kick. And you're never gonna want to kick. Oh, come now, my beloved laissez-faire. You talked all that shit about hitting the high dusty with no intention of coming off that saddle wall. But it's a new age desperado. They've spent the last 30 years figuring out how to set fire to stone walls, and your big fancy puppet show is starting to fray at the strings. Your paying customers try to leave the theater only to find locked doors, no cash box or staffers in the box office, tickets decaying into dust between their fingers, and you still hawking subscriptions from the projection booth. It's not like I didn't warn you that all the joints on this side of town were strictly buyer beware. There is no light that torches the compound faster than a gaslight. The painful fact is that some people really are too good to be alive, and the 1% of the 1% train us to call these people patsies. So please don't be so damn hard on yourself. It could be much worse. It's not like you're a sculptor. No tyrant ever wanted to kill a sculptor. That's what philosophers and poets are for, to be made examples of by crumbling empires.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. That's it? Okay. Okay, Marc Petrie.
I got a couple poems from my son. This one's called Commencement. From an ancient beach chair, the outlines of Anacapa and Santa Rosa Islands, partially obscured by late afternoon fog, appear like apparitions on the horizon, much as my past is now obscured by the passage of time. Sunshine of your love echoes through my mind as if it were the summer of '68. I've been waiting so long to be where you're going. Back to Ventura, 54 years later, to celebrate my son's college graduation, a passage along a path that will continue long after mine has ended. My heart fills with joy for so powerful, tears well up just thinking about it. Tears of joy, born of pain, so hard, my heart nearly bursts. Why must joy be accompanied by such anguish? A triumph winding toward empire's end. Spray off the ocean splashes my face. The sun warms my skin. A steady breeze brings relief. I cry inside with a sense of pride and relief. So much goes into love, as if each moment of life is an unfulfilled prayer. Holding our breath, hoping for redemption, and then it happens. I want to close with a real short one from my collection from last year, Poems of Nature and Despair. This one's called Becoming Truly Literate. My son curled on the couch, the house agreeably quiet. In my silent self, I watch my 6-year-old sleep. I would like to learn how not to read.
Thank you, Marc. And congratulations to your son again.
Thank you so kindly.
Thank you. Okay, Richard Modiano. You know, you have a great name. Modiano. We miss you at Beyond Baroque, right?
Yes. Well, Modiano, by the way, is a Sephardic name, and it means morning prayer.
Very cool.
By chance, I was there for the 50th anniversary of the truce, Dublin, July 11, 1971. and chatted up the woman who was a provo as it happened. And later we had pints in the pub with her comrades. Even though she didn't share my bed as I'd hoped, I agreed to visit Londonderry with news. Free Derry, the war zone in Bogside. You are now entering Free Derry, the graffito read. I saw it beyond the checkpoint where the SAS braced me and checked my passport. A Yank, and not an Irish Yank. You're going into a dangerous area and we can't protect you. A clueless American tourist, they thought, but I had a mission. I had news in a fat envelope to deliver at a pub on Rossville Street. What did I know? All eyes on me when I walked in. I ordered a pint. They heard my accent, and I asked for Tom. Who wants to see him? A friend of Claire in Dublin. Tom was at the bar right beside me, neatly dressed in tie and jacket. This is for you. I handed him the envelope, which he took without opening. Another for my friend. Another pint set before me. We drank and talked about the nice weather, the evening dart game coming up, followed by a little song and music. But I didn't stay for that. I took the next bus to Belfast and then the ferry to Scotland, never to see any of these new comrades again, while 6 months later, safe at home, I read about the massacre. Bloody Sunday, they called it. That was 50 years ago, the truce 100 years ago, and today, a new war. Has war ever stopped? The war zone on the nightly news, the suffering, the fear, the appeals, unchanged on this different terrain. And I have no news to deliver, nothing to offer, but the intangible, may peace prevail.
Thank you, Richard.
We are living through the nightmare edition of Great Men Make History. In a world where 1,000 gilded oligarchs, billionaire sheiks, and silicon deities rule the human future, greed breeds reptilian brains. These strange days, as thermobaric bombs melt shopping malls and fires range in nuclear reactors, our supermen can't validate their power in any plausible narrative of the future. The new czar of all the Russias surrounds himself with as much astrology, mysticism, and perversion as the terminal Romanovs, believes that he must save the Ukrainians from being Ukrainians, lest the celestial destiny of the Rus become impossible. The present must be smashed in order to make an imaginary past the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Richard. Okay. Jimmy, did you sort it out?
I hear you. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, this is a short one by a dear poet friend of mine. I did a play at Cherry Lane. He wrote, but he committed suicide in '69. And there's a book of poems that he had written called 10 Years. Here's a short one called Proposals for a New Society. A proposal or two, then, from an old legislator. If everyone on this reviving grave were trained to sing one high note at noon precisely, the concert would bring God down. The feast is all around us. Death by lightning and other visionary activities would be encouraged, as would tender care for the beasts we eat. A cow that's been loved tastes twice as good at the table. Crimes will be merely insincerity. Killers and victims alike left like undiscovered collisions to rot along the sullen highways. In high school citizenship, I got an A. But I knew justice, like poverty, is irrelevant to poetic legislation. When I'm president, I'll electrocute everyone who's not a poet and then go into exile, seeking new friends who will die for beauty.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Okay.
69. Yeah.
69. 69. Whoops. Oops. Oh my goodness. Okay. Peter Kline.
I'm going to read a couple very short poems from my latest book called Mirror Forms. These are all dramatic monologues. And they're all in the same form. So the last line is the same as the first line. You'll hear it each time. This first one's called The Living Dead. This poem is about staying up much too late, watching terrible television. The Living Dead. Asleep with the light left on, I dream in animation. I'm a zombie porno station. Grubworms binge on the lawn. Someone left the dog on and it died. It's on vacation. We're all flying for that nation, asleep with the light left on. This one's called Procrastinator. It's got a reference to the Garden of Gethsemane just before Christ was crucified. Procrastinator. It's later than it was when Christ slipped off to pray. I was asleep that day. Tonight, I'm wired. No doze is not my favorite buzz, but the shaking makes me double. There's a corpse at the kitchen table. It's later than it was. Just a couple more of these. I'll do Worrier next. Worrier. I know what it must be, but I can't bear to check. Playing patience with a short deck, counting back from infinity until it's time to see that no one hid. I've heard even God has a safety word. I know what it must be. And this one's called Futurist. And this is for San Francisco, the dark side of San Francisco these days, the kind of tech side of San Francisco, that the tech worshiping side of San Francisco, I should say. This is Futurist. Death was just something to do. Nothing was something to feel. Only the android was real. God was all zeros and twos. Now we wake up with a bruise in the shape of the morning before. Permafrost weeps like a sore. Death is still something to do. And the last one here is called Skeptic. This is on climate change. Skeptic. It happened anyway. As engineers played bridge, Noah hit the fridge and gave his dog away. Me, I was on the freeway, ice in my glass. I knew what a trumped up sun could do. It happened anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Okay. Well, this is wonderful. I mean, I just thank you all for being here. It's just terrific. What a group of artists. I call you artists. Artists, right, Richard? So, Christina, do you have another?
Sure.
Okay.
You are married when I am 10. I am your flower girl. The morning of your wedding, I sit at the bottom of the stairs that curve into the front room of Grandma and Grandpa's house. The stairs are still white, not the deep rose they will be later. You and your sister sit on either side of me and braid my hair in complicated ways, like you always do. You pull too tight and take a long time. I close my eyes to the pull and pling of the tiny teeth of the combs, the warm bloom on my scalp when you draw your parts with the pointy end. On the day of the wedding, the braids don't match and you argue above me. You push my hands away when I want to unravel my hair. Uncle James kneels in front of me with his camera and adjusts the long lens, aims, backs up, kneeling and duck walking and re-aiming. I try not to laugh. It seems like I shouldn't laugh. I wait impatiently and try to smile without laughing. This photo appears on our wall at home, framed with 2 quotes from your book. Close up in black and white with my crooked French braids. The smaller braids wispy in the backlight. The quote is from your new book, which you will never see. A copy is waiting in your mailbox on the day you were murdered. Beneath the photo are 2 cut white squares of words from your book, the main piece in bigger print. You write, you remain dismembered with the belief that magnolia blooms white even on seemingly dead branches, and you wait. You remain apart from the congregation. There's more in italics and smaller, running over the bottom half of the image. The line I come back to often. Chaste, you wait. You are supposed to. You are to wait for the silence to break. I don't know what I am seeing or what I am missing. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Ken, do you have another?
Sure. This is a very small one. I wrote it recently. It's called Everything Breathes. What manner of nightmare arises when feathers go blind, bones are rendered mute, and blood forgets everything? Can mountains feed stars to restore ancient memories? Shall the waters become a river to the heavens? Everything breathes. In the silence, you can hear it. And in the breath that is one, the nightmare is revealed to have been an illusion all along. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, I have something.
There you go.
Okay.
Jimmy, yes.
Yeah, it's a quick footnote here because I opened the book and I happened to open up to this one piece of paper. It says the Rap Saloon, Friday, April the 15th, 2016. And it's a short poem by Ronnie Blakely. And she writes most every day, and we're Facebook friends, and she writes beautiful stuff most every day. But I'll read this to you real quick. It's from Ronnie. I'm assuming it's okay. Naivete, believing in something, unsafe at any speed, open mouth, eat spoon-fed. When did it become lies? Always this way. Report falsified, protect the powerful, see them fall, blood on the floor, screams of the dying, smile all the while, mile after mile, settlements gathered on the bottom, hunger for truth. Don't trust leaders. Make them prove it all night. That's from Ronnie.
Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Ronnie. Okay, James, do you have something else?
Yeah, I got two more. This one is entitled His Brand. This is his brand. This Burger King Arthur in a bizarro Camelot, a junk food spread on a banquet table, snidely whiplash with a spray tan layered to conceal wrinkles and self-loathing, a Tinseltown mobster beheading hobby horses and flicking them out the car window like dying cigarettes into the tinder of tumbleweeds, sparking wildfires in his rearview mirror. This is his brand. The soap opera plot device, gaslighting amnesiac dowagers with brain aneurysms, is the migraine headache when the damsel gets close to the truth. His Marlon Brando is a waxwork in a vinyl jacket, toothpick jutting from his lip and terrorizing townsfolk, rumbling in atop a Schwinn Roadhog with clothespin trading cards of Pee Wee Reese and Mickey Mantle against the spokes of his rear wheel. This is his brand, descending from the escalator, this penis behind a necktie with Gatorade hair. This is America in a Hollywood that's all Jack Palance and no Alan Ladd, no Harrison Ford and no Jimmy Stewart, just a broken-nosed Pinocchio pulling up to the curb in a Chevy Corvair with tinted windows and Mercedes-Benz hubcaps. And thank you everyone. This one is entitled To My Daughter, My Sisters, Their Children, and Their Children. Say your name. Say your name like a declaration, like a December dawn blazing in an ice pond sky. Say your name like truth and consequences, gospel and defiance, breath and fire. Say your name like the shock and awe preamble of your entrance. Say your name like a fingerprint, a flourishing signature affixed with a firm hand and eye contact. Make them aware that they asked for something they may not be prepared for. Say your name differently when it is asked than when it is requested or demanded. Make sure they know who you are and not that whoever it is that they say you look like. Be the history they refuse to write, the future that they know is coming. Say your name like a heralding, like a 14-hour labor. Say your name and make them remember. Say your name as if it were introduced on stone tablets. Say it with reverence, like a hallowed prayer, like the tilling of fertile soil, like the first gift from your parents. Say your name like brilliance lancing a benighted nation, like sunlight in a darkened brain. Say your name and watch their eyes open from the inside. Say your name like a stop sign you conjure with just one hand. Say your name like you know you will outlive their envy. Say your name to deny their hankering to go too far. Say your name like justice for 1,000 souls. Say it with the pride of your ancestors from the summit of their shoulders. Say your name like a revelation. Say your name like a revolution, like you're pure and potent, like you're precious and respected, like you're impossible to decipher, like you're invulnerable and irrefutable. Say it, say it, say it, say it. Say your name.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have another?
Yeah, very short. James, just outstanding. I took the liberty of friendly Christina on Facebook. I just have a few little spots open, but I hope you will join. I'd be honored. Wonderful word weave. And you all, I have to reiterate what you said earlier, Elena. What a wonderful, glorious time and an incredible group of people and artistas. Yes, we'll go one more song. Note past artist to artist. Absolutely. This is going to be actually an epigraphic poem put in a book by our mutual friend Elena, Dr. Andrea Pollard, on happiness and just having a happy life. It's called Rock Me Gently. Rock me gently to sleep while softly singing a lullaby of a sailing ship pacifically drawn into a harbor sheltered keep. Rock me gently to sleep, berthed in a bay of tranquility, covered in the blanket of the northern lights, my spirit glides with the stars crossing the night. Rock me gently to sleep, to a time as a drifted sea, until the clock stops and slumbers, and my dreams dock at ease. Rock me gently, rock me gently, rock me gently to sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. And now, Matt.
Okay, cool. This poem, I'm gonna do two quick ones. They're from Mowing This Grass, the other book I wrote. Okay. Sundown, Levittown, Fort Apache, Dirty Harry, John Wayne, Blackface, Minuteman, Moynihan, Gone with the Wind, Breaking Bad. Washington Redskin, Confederate flag, the sword, the dollar, the cannon, the scholar, the cavalry, and the Ivy League history as written by lightning is the rising smoke of burning village. The ways and means with victors keep their victims, a frontier thesis, some notes on the state of Virginia, extraction, expansion, the winning of the West, Lewis and Clark, Smith and Wesson, I'll circle the wagon with bloodshed and slave sweat, the crack of the whip, the law of 3/5, the crown republic of King Cotton, the intended failures of Reconstruction, the housing covenants that greeted great migrations is the same to the Mexicans in poor Mexico, so far from heaven and so close to Monroe Doctrine, to Davy Crockett, to prison industrial complex, a war on drugs, a war on our young, Bloody Christmas, Reefer Madness, 15 to life for 4 ounces, East Oakland, West Baltimore, south of La Brea and all over north, Plymouth Rock, Jamestown, the Rio Grande, stolen lives, stolen land. See, some were born in summer homes and palatial groves where pain was only to unfold from the pages of secret gardens where the red fern grows, but not I. See, I come from the stock of star-eyed astronauts who greet the night sky with big dreams and wide eyes, always running down the devil's highway through occupied America, on the way back to us on Mango Street, and all the books you want us to read. There's a handball off the back wall of a panaderia born east the river, post Mendez versus Westminster, one generation with red lines, and diplomas that were signed that those dreams and that skin need not apply. See, I come from struggle. And if my story offends you, it was only because you made the mistake of seeking your reflection in my self-portrait. See, this might not be about you. Because some are born in the common core, whose reflected faces grace the pages of doctrines discovered and ages to be explored. World hardships crashed against new shores, New England, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York. For others, pushed off Turtle Island, Aslan. Do not call this brown-skinned immigrant. Child of the sun, son of the conquest, Mexicano blood, running through the veins, east side of Los Angeles. Do not tell him your native tongue the song will best be sung. Do not tell me. I am. Because I was raised like you. Miseducated in some of those very same schools off lessons and legends of honest Indians and Christian pilgrims and a nation of immigrants all united in freedom. That is until they pulled aside my white friend, pointed directly at me and said, Scott, I judge you by the company you keep. You spend your time with this. That same old story, 1846. The adventure of Uncle Sam, the stick-up man, he wetback. Show me your papers, now give me your labor. The melting pot was never made for the hands to clean it. The American dream has always come at the expense of those who tucked it in. You don't know that because you don't teach it. Could write you a book, but you won't read it. So you know this is about you. And 1492, And the Treaty of Guadalupe and California missions and Arizona schools, these racists that try to race us as these are kids in cities that bear our names. You can learn some today, from Ferdinand to Minuteman, from Arpaio to Alamo, from Popple to Joaquin the Indian, as it lives in me from MC8 to Missing 43, try to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds, Canadian minds, they will strike the Pandeolo, Zapata, Joaquin Murrieta, that's Analitas, Brown, Baresi, Zapatistas, Richard Nixon, the third Napoleon, from Peckinpah to Houston, from the Lone Star Republic to Christopher Columbus, all the way down to Donald fucking Trump. We didn't cross the borders crossed us. Who you calling immigrants? Pilgrim.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Okay, I think we've covered everybody, and we'll have to give the floor to the one and only Linda Ravenswood.
The way you say that is so funny, Elena. Oh, Elena, thank you so much for this. Somebody give me a thumbs up if my audio is still bananas or if it's okay. That's like kind of sort of, okay, good, excellent. Thank you guys so much for this tonight. I'll just read another poem in my Letters from California collection. This is called The Red Car to Infinity. Gather near my skirts and shh. Now, Linda, when I was a girl, there were double and triple and quadruple tracks on the streets of Los Angeles. They went far into the desert and all the way to the beach and everywhere in between. Not to say there weren't bus lanes and tram tracks and cars as well, because there were, but these tracks belonged to little red and yellow trolleys that chugged beside the rest of us motoring along. They seemed like the missing link between how our grandparents traveled in horse-drawn carriages and us racing around in Packards and Chevrolets. Hammered onto the sand and cement bars that ran through the middle of the streets, these trolley tracks were laid in beside gravel and tarmac that rose in heat swirls in the sun. Those red cars dinged a sound, part whistle and part song, and we rode to school over Santa Monica Boulevard and all the way to Boyle Heights, down to the pier on Saturday night and out to Aunt Susie in San Bernardino. They clicked like ticker tape and buzzed your face as they flew. On trips west, we found pink and black shells, and later your uncle put them in the wall for the family mosaic. Remember all those years on Mulholland? What I'm saying is there was a time in Los Angeles when you could go places, where the air smelled of fresh bread and salt water and Swenson's ice cream and the Helms Bakery man and the shining red car, oh, not so long ago. We listened to the Sons of the Pioneers and went to Grauman's Chinese, and even after they took out the cinema organ, they piped carnival music between the shows, so it still felt like the pictures. When we were alone, we'd hold a transistor radio like a golden brick on our ears and switch to KMPC and listen as tunes and voices spilled out. All the kids were listening, and it felt like a secret we held between us. The flick of the transistor, that breathing wheel. You don't have any idea what I'm talking about, do you, sweetheart? Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. What a night. What a night. Oh, what a night. Richard, can you tell us the Elvis Presley story?
I can.
The Elvis Presley story. Well, I worked as an extra in a film called Change of Habit for 21 days back in 1968. I was still in high school. And I played a featured extra. The plot of the movie was called Change of Habit, and it starred Elvis Presley, Mary Tyler Moore, Barbara McNair, Jane Elliott. But what excited me was that it had all of these great character actors there, including Timothy Carey, who'd been in Kubrick movies, Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz, Regis Toomey, Ed Asner, let's see, Ruth McDivitt, and Robert Emhart. These, if you were a cinephile, you will know who all these character actors are. But I had two conversations with Elvis. One was the day after the televised Oscar ceremony. We were standing on the set in this basement apartment set, and he said, "Did you watch the Oscar show last night?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Weren't those music numbers piss poor? I mean, you think they could do better than that?" I said, "Well, yeah, I suppose they could." And he says, and 2001: A Space Odyssey only won no awards, nothing, unbelievable. So I don't know what the place is coming to. The other conversation was he used to smoke these cigars. They were called Villager Kyles. And I asked him, I said, "Elvis, where do you get those cigars?" And he said, "Well, they're called Villager Kyles, and you can buy them at a place called the B&G Tobacco Shop on Sunset Boulevard." So I went to the B&G Tobacco Shop with some friends of mine, and I asked for a Villager Kyle. Now, of course, I was underage, but in those days they didn't card you so strictly as they do now. In fact, I was able to see adult-only movies like Hour of the Wolf and Blow Up, which were for adults only. Those were not porno movies. They were European art films that had adult themes, as they called them. So I went in there and I said, "I'd like a Villager Kyle." And the guy behind the counter says, "Oh, Villager Kyle, that's good taste. So you know who else smokes those?" And I said, "Yeah, Elvis Presley. He told me to come here and buy them." And he said, "Oh, really? Great, wonderful. Well, how many do you want?" I said, "Just one," because they were $5. $5 was a lot of money back in '69. So I bought a Villager Kyle. And I saw Elvis on the set next week. And I said, "I went to the B&G, Elvis. I got the Villager Kyle." I said, "How'd you like it?" And I said, "It was good." And he said, "How many did you get a pack?" And I said, "No, I could only afford one." And he said, "Well, hang on a minute." And he sent one of the Memphis Mafia guys that he hung out with. He always had this entourage around him. They went back to his trailer, and he came and he said, "Bring me a box." He brought a box, and he gave me the box of Villager Kyles. So that's the Elvis Presley story.
May I interject one real quick for you, Richard? I'm from Tupelo, Mississippi. Elvis is from Tupelo, Mississippi. And he and I dated the same girlfriend. And she told me that she liked me better. That's my story.
Well, also many of you know Amelie Frank, right? She's the president of Billy Bob Thornton's fan club. And one time she invited me to Billy Bob's birthday party, which was at his house in Beverly Hills. So I went there, and when she introduced me, I held up my hand and I said, "This is the hand that shook the hand of the king." And he knew exactly who I was talking about. I didn't have to explain. And then he showed me his basement recording studio. And he had the original artwork for the Disraeli Gears album, the Cream album, Disraeli Gears. So that's sort of the code of to the Elvis story.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe I could interject since doing Elvis. You might know Allison Adams is a friend of mine, and her father was Nick Adams. And of course, he and Nick Adams and Elvis hung out together. So one day, Allison called me and we talked, and she said, what do you think I should name the title of my book? And I said, The Rebel and the King. And so I share that with you. Elvis is alive tonight.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much. So we did it. We did it. And what a wonderful evening. What a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thank you for staying up. And those from the East Coast and the Bay. And I guess I'll close with a song, one of Jimmy's
Something
favorite
cool.
songs.
Something cool. Will you do it?
Just for you.
Oh, honey, thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Something cool. I'd like to order something cool. It's so warm here in town and the heat gets me down. Yes, I'd like something cool. My, it's nice to simply sit and talk a while. And I know it's a shame I can't think of your name. I remember your smile. I don't ordinarily drink with strangers. I most usually sit alone. But you were so awfully nice to ask me, and I am so terribly far from home. Like my dress, I must admit it's very, very old. But it's simple and neat. It's just right for the heat. Save my furs for the cold. A cigarette? Well, I don't smoke them as a rule. But I'll have one. It could be fun with something cool. I bet you couldn't imagine that I one time had a house with so many rooms. I couldn't count them all. I bet you couldn't imagine I had 15 different beaux who'd beg and beg to take me to the ball. And I bet you couldn't picture me the time I went to Paris in the fall. Or that the man I loved was quite as handsome, quite as tall. Well, I guess it's just the memory I had when I almost forgot, 'cause the weather's so hot and I'm feeling so sad about a date. Oh no, just wait. I'm such a fool. He's just a guy who stopped to buy me something cool.
You're so cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
So,
Good night.
Linda, before you take off, I just want to let you know that my first novel is set in San Francisco in 1967, and the central event of it is the Be-In on January 14. So the novel takes place between January and June 1967, and the protagonist dies of a drug overdose on the eve of the Monterey Pop Festival. And we found out 20 years later that it was a CIA plant of a bad drug that kills him. So yeah, so that's my first novel is in that great city, San Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
What's the name of the novel, Marc?
It's called A Dream Once Dreamed. If you'd like to read it sometime, my email is Marc Petrie, my name at AOL.com. Send me something. I'll send it to you or to Elaine or anyone who wants to read it. I'll be happy to get you guys a copy.
Oh,
Thank
thanks
you.
a million. So nice to meet you.
Absolutely, Marc.
All
And
right.
Marc, forgive me, I've said this many times, but I gotta repeat it. You are truly still Ray Bradbury's doppelganger. I just, isn't he?
I met Ray Bradbury in 1971 one at the Palos Verdes Library when I was a senior in high school. And then when I was working in Penn, I used to be the Orange County rep for Penn, and I'd go to the board meetings in Beverly Hills, and I worked with Ray through the 90s, and he was like the nicest man. I mean, really, he didn't act like a famous writer. He just was someone who was out there trying to help people. I really, really miss him. He was a wonderful human being.
I couldn't agree more. What a wonderful opportunity. I agree. Everything. I have a close friend who started working with Ray when my friend, he's a muralist. He does it all over the world, very well-known painter. And he started a magazine at 18, and Ray Bradbury was his first interviewee. He said, "Who's this young kid?" And he said, "No problem, kiddo, you get started, I can help you." And they became lifelong friends. So yeah, I concur. He was just a wonderful, kind, genuine human being. Yep. What a great story. Well, I'm gonna pick ahead for more stories, Marc.
Anytime. You guys just either Facebook or email me. And school is out. I'm not going to be teaching math this summer, so I have time to actually think and write.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. And Elena,
Bye. Thank you.
You're a
Bye.
gift from heaven. Thank you very kindly for your help.
Oh,
Thank you, Peter. Bye. Thanks, Marc. Thank you,
Everybody.
Christina. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you so much,
Good
everybody.
night, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care and
Bye,
stay
everybody.
safe. Take care of yourself.
Take care.
Keep
Great to
writing.
meet you guys. Great to
Thank
meet you, Peter.
Elena. I adore you. Good night.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I adore you guys. Bye. See you soon. Take care. Bye. Ciao. Good night.